And what I learned is all these dogs I spent my first 24 years of service training, they weren't getting any help after. We use them just like the military uses a soldier. Yeah. We use them right up to the point they can't do it no more, and then they discard them. Now, a lot of people say to me, Jason, I thought, the handlers get to keep their dogs. That's true. But a first responder, a soldier, a Marine, they don't have that kind of money. If it's a cancer treatment, it's $10,000 for a lymphoma or something like that. Yeah. No, they're not getting paid for that. We know that they can't get second jobs sometimes. So there's only two options. They go into personal financial debt or the dog goes without. And so I wanted to start the organization, which I did in 2016, to make sure that no hero goes without help.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Unfinished Business Podcast, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. This past November, the Unfinished Business Podcast had the pleasure of being invited to Project K-9 Heroes Future K-9 Sanctuary in Whitwell, Tennessee. And let me tell you guys, it's nothing short of awe-inspiring. The visionary work of the founder of Project K-9 Hero, Jason Johnson, invited me. We got to meet each other for the first time, and it was a beautiful experience to just walk through all the plans he has in place and learn about them. The rehabilitation and rehoming building that looks to span over 2,400 square feet for end-of-service military working dogs and police canines promises comprehensive care with play zones, veterinary clinics, grooming facilities, and adoption cabins for future adopting parents to stay in. This isn't a dog shelter per se, and I'm sure Jason would agree with that. And as the founder of Project K-9 Heroes, Jason would probably say it himself that he thinks of it as a VA facility for retired military working dogs and police canine. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
It is a place. It's going to be a place where our K-9 heroes can go to heal. A sanctuary that recognizes the physical and emotional tolls these military working dogs and police canines have endured during and after their service has ended. Today, it's my great pleasure to have my friend, Jason Johnson, on the Unfinished Business Podcast, a podcast for pursuing new life missions. Jason, man, it's so great to have you here in Texas. First of all, welcome to Texas, and thank you very much for inviting me to come see your facility and share with me what's in your heart, number one, about Project K-9 Heroes, and just opening your home and allowing my wife and our little puppy come and check out your place. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. It's great to get out there because I think people can read about it and I can tell them about it, but until you come out there and see some of these heroes face to face and learn their stories and look into their eyes, then you really don't understand the gravity of the situation.
Yeah, like for me too, it's like you see another piece of military working dogs is part of when you're in combat. There are other facets. I kind of would say it's this interdisciplinary social and social issue that sometimes that people don't realize until you're actually right at the doorsteps of it, like I was. For sure.
Yeah, these heroes, they work in the police, they work in the military, they go out, they serve our country, they serve our communities, and not all of them get to stay with their handler. Maybe there's a small child at home. Maybe they have aggression issues. Maybe they have a history of biting or bit the spouse where they can't keep them. And so where do they go? And some of them are set to be euthanized if they can't be adopted out by specific people with experience in the public. But we want to be a resource, and we are a resource, not only for the U.S. government, but for the United States military and local and federal and state law enforcement agencies to call and to make sure that these heroes are going to get the best retirement possible after their faithful service.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that too. I mean, just this is a big, great block of time for us to get the word out about Project K-9 Heroes, and I feel blessed to be a part of that process for sure. Now, what I've learned about you is that you have a diverse career. You've had a diverse career serving in the U.S. Army, roles in DHS, TSA, ATF, and DOS in Iraq and Afghanistan. Can you discuss some of those roles and what inspired you to specialize in K-9 units within law enforcement and in the military? And I'm curious if you've had pets when you were a kid or when you were a
Well,
child too.
I did. I had a German Shorthaired Pointer when I was between the age of 5 to 18. So, most of my life growing up, we had a dog in the home. And nowadays we use German Shorthaired Pointers for explosive detection, like when I was working with the airports with DHS and TSA, as you stated. But my grandfathers were war veterans. One was a Marine in Korean War, and the other was a Navy Seaman in World War II. And hearing their stories growing up and reading about, their service and their awards and military history, which I just have, a great respect for. I knew at a very, very young age I was going to be a soldier when I, became 18 years old. And it was exactly what I did. Went through high school, signed up my senior year, while I was still 17, finished high school that summer. I went off to be a United States Army military police officer. I wanted to get as much action as fast as I could in life. And being a military police officer was that role. Now, when I did get into the Army, I didn't really know about the working dog program. Where I grew up, our sheriff's office or city didn't have a K-9 unit. So I wasn't really exposed to working dogs until I got in the Army. And even then, it was, pre 9/11, we didn't have as many explosive dogs. And my 5 years, I never really even got an opportunity to work a dog. I just was, fascinated by it. And I knew, hey, as soon as I get out, I'm going to go to the police department and I'm going to try to get into the K-9 unit. So that's exactly what I did. 23 years old after 5 years of service, got out, started outside Tacoma, outside of Fort Lewis. Puyallup is the city there. Started Puyallup Police and started putting on the bite suit. I was the youngest officer on the department, of course, when I started. So the other handler was a former Army MP, so we had that in common. And they liked it because they needed someone to lay tracks to put on the bite suit at 2 in the morning, and I did that for years.
Wow.
And I kept a log and then I switched departments. Kind of after about 3 years there, I went to Yakima Police Department. When I got to Yakima, they didn't have a narcotics K-9 unit. We had gotten a new chief in from state of Texas, where there's more drug interdiction down here in Texas than there was at the time up in Washington State. We proposed to starting a new unit. I had years of training, classes, seminars that I've been doing on my own time, preparing to become a K-9 handler. And it literally took me years. And then he approved the new role, and a bunch of people on the department applied, and I got selected because of my preparation.
Yeah. Wow, that's insane. Like, so how many years did you do the suit?
I did a solid 6 years of working at the police department before I had an opportunity to become a handler.
Wow.
And that's very common. If you're going to go to a big police department like Dallas PD or Austin PD, you're not going to start as a K-9 handler. You got to go put in your time, which is what I did. But a lot of people in today's world, they think things are owed to them, that they're just going to get it for free.
Yeah.
K-9's all about hard work. You got to be a self-starter. You got to be self-motivated. You got to be the person that the police call when they have nowhere else to turn to.
Yeah. Well, that's an amazing journey, and how you've morphed it into Project K-9 Heroes, which we're going to talk about for sure. Okay. Yeah. I still want everyone to get to know who you are.
Sure.
And this is part of it. So. So people understand how extensive the training process for K-9 handler is. What sets them apart from law enforcement or military personnel?
Well, everyone starts, whether it's military or law enforcement, you start as a normal military police officer, and then we got dogs in the Rangers, we got dogs in the SEALs. No one's going to start, back at least when I came in at the police department as a K-9 handler. That's very rare. Now, they have changed in the Army. They have an MOS now for dog handling. So people can go to basic training and then to their AIT and go right into dog handling. They've kind of fast-tracked it a little bit. I'm not sure that's the best, because I think being a law enforcement officer, first and foremost, is your major job, right? So you should learn how to do that really good before you become a dog handler. Yeah. Just like being a police officer, deputy sheriff, state trooper, whatever. So. But it really varies. I mean, if you're going to do like narcotics handling, a course could be as little as 6 weeks. If you're going to do explosive, it could be 10 to 12 weeks. If you're doing a dual purpose like patrol plus detection, it could be 16 weeks, 20 weeks. Yeah. But the most important thing to know is when you graduate, the training never stops with the dog handling. Every week you got in-service training. Every year you got certifications. You need to stay on top of it, not weekly, but daily. So every day you're doing something with your dog, training-wise. Yeah, that initial training, that's just to get you certified on the street, but it's 24/7.
Wow. Also, can you highlight some of the specialized training areas for working with? I think you said some of them. Military working dogs and canine units. Like scent detection and tracking and or apprehension.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, just like at Project Canine Hero, we look at all working dogs, right? So you have dogs that at the PD that might be narcotics detection only. Some will do firearms. When I say ATF, we train dogs to do firearms and shell casings, finding murder weapons, finding evidence for crimes. We had accelerant dogs, people who use a flammable accelerant, gasoline, kerosene, lighter fluid.
Yeah.
They can detect where that was put, and then you collect that for evidence, sent to the crime lab, and that can convict somebody of arson.
Wow.
So we have dogs that do that. In the USDA, we have dogs that work in our customs, and they're looking for fruits and nuts and different things that aren't supposed to come in the country. We have obviously explosive dogs work all more so in the federal government nowadays because we're worried about anti-terrorism, right?
Yeah.
And we're trying to stop bombings and vehicles with explosives in them and all these things like what could have been prevented at the Oklahoma City bombing if we had a dog working a checkpoint there.
Yeah.
So, you have all that. And then you have your patrol apprehension dogs too. Dogs that are going to go out and track a suspect who may have ran off on foot or maybe barricaded. We have SWAT dogs, barricaded in a house, committed a felony crime, something of that nature.
Yeah. What do you think the hardest thing about being a dog handler is?
Well, I think a lot of people want to be dog handlers, and it's very difficult. So patience, patience. It can be frustrating because you can't talk to your dog in the way me and you can talk.
Yeah.
And so you have to have clear and concise communication. A person needs to learn how to communicate with their dog. Everything rolls down the leash. If you're having a bad day, that's going to roll down the leash. If you're not communicating to your dog clearly, things are going to go wrong. But I also think I sit on a lot of oral boards and I select handlers nowadays, with my different roles. I'm looking for the hardest worker is what I look for. That's the first and foremost.
Yeah.
Is this the hardest worker in your department? Because that's who you need.
Yeah.
Because K9 is not a cake job. 2 a.m., dog's throwing up, got to go to the vet, whatever it may be. You're pretty much with that dog 24/7 and you're tied to it and you're responsible for it. And that's your job. And you can't be someone who's lazy. You can't be someone who's like, well, I'm just going to put the dog up and go on 3 days vacation, and not do anything.
Yeah.
When I had my dog, Flash, my first police dog, I trained every day on my days off. I'd put something out at the home, and do a search and keep her fresh. Yeah. That's the person you need handling a dog.
Wow, man, that's like deep. Like I just got my first dog, and it's new to me. I never owned a pet, but I can't imagine like just having to train a dog for explosive or even to have self-control in that kind of in that environment where there's hostility and making sure that they not too close to toxins that will harm them and stuff like that too, right?
Absolutely.
Let's see. What are some of the? I guess you talked about that. Some of the challenges that canine military working dogs and police canine face. Is there a story that sticks out in your mind that always keeps you on your toes? That one story says, you know what? I'm not gonna ever let that happen again, or I'm gonna make sure that I stay on point with my.
Yeah, there's so many. So I have dozens.
Yeah.
And so
if you feel.
Yeah, dozens, literally dozens, if not hundreds, because we have 265 program members now in Project Canine Hero, and they all got special stories.
Yeah.
They all were extraordinary, and we'll talk like a dog like K-9 Chief who served in Moses Lake, Washington. Chief took a bullet to his eye, lost his eye, went through his jaw. A suspect they were pursuing pulled a gun from his waistband from a short distance, about 10, 15 feet, and fired at the officer. Chief had jumped up and took the bullet in his face.
Yeah.
The officer returned fire, neutralized the suspect, and Chief got life flighted to the hospital, lived, lost his eye, but the most important thing is he can no longer work at 3.5 years old. Now the handler is responsible for his medical care for the rest of his life. The departments don't pay for that, and they specifically don't in the military or the federal government, and that's where Project Canine Hero comes in. We're paying for Chief's medical bills for the rest of his life, and all he did was do his job.
Wow, that's insane, man. Like when we get done with this, like I was thinking about, I was like, man, I got to put a picture of this dog on top of our interview for sure.
Yeah, he's got a patch on his eye and everything.
Wow, I'll make sure I do that. Okay, well, talk to us about Project K-9 Hero. You know, I think a lot of people were they're hearing us talk about Project K-9 Hero, but in your own words, I gave a very brief description, but in your words, talk to us about Project K-9 Hero.
You know,
Hero is.
talking about my background, started in the military, then I was in the police, then
Yeah.
I worked overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan. I was an ambassador's K-9 handler, protection details, and then I worked in the federal government. And when I got in the federal government, when I was with ATF specifically, I helped train hundreds, if not close to about 2,000 police K-9s and military working dogs. We prepped them for deployment to Iraq and Afghanistan, federal agencies, state and local. And what I learned is all these dogs I spent my first 24 years of service training, they weren't getting any help after. We use them just like the military uses a soldier. Yeah. We use them right up to the point they can't do it no more, and then they discard them. Now, a lot of people say to me, Jason, I thought, you know, the handlers get to keep their dogs. That's true. But a first responder, a soldier, a Marine, they don't have that kind of money. If it's a cancer treatment, it's $10,000 for a lymphoma or something like that.
Yeah.
No, they're not getting paid for that. We know that they can't get second jobs sometimes. So there's only two options. They go into personal financial debt or the dog goes without. And so I wanted to start the organization, which I did in 2016, to make sure that no hero goes without help. And I don't want to see, because I'm a former military and I'm former law enforcement, I don't want to see a handler go into personal debt for something that I feel that we should be paying for.
Yeah.
And so I'm working with the change laws, and I have a bill I'm working with in Congress right now. But Project K-9 Hero is here to not only help pay those medical bills, but then you talked about it before, we also have that rehabilitation rehoming center. So not only are we helping the majority of our dogs, 90%, stay with their handler, and we're paying those bills, but then we have that 10% that don't have a home, and that's where a 177-acre facility comes into play.
Wow. Man, that's like hearing you talk about it, like it makes you get, for me, it made me this is a serious thing, you know, like it just opens your eyes and perspective, especially if a person's putting their life on their line and their K-9, you know, is putting their life on their line with them too. You know?
That K-9 may have saved their life.
Yeah.
They may have been serving in Afghanistan, and this happens to several dogs in our program, saved their life. So how is that Army Ranger going to feel when he doesn't have the money to pay for his dog?
Yeah.
And he's like, this dog saved my life, saved my friend's life, my comrade's life, you know, my partner's life. So, you know, now they have something to turn to.
Yeah.
And we're proud as can be. And I as the founder, couldn't be more excited and honored to be doing this now in my 30th year.
That's awesome, man. I'm proud to be doing this interview with you, man. So just know that, and being able to be have some awareness about it so that we can put it in the forefront, and you can do my part to do that. Regarding Project K-9 Heroes, how have you coped with the emotional tolls of witnessing the challenges and sacrifices that K-9 partners have faced in the line of duty and the difficulties they face after the end of service? How have you coped with the emotional toll?
Well, you know, every dog has a story. And for me, I've had my own partners. I've had 15 K-9 partners in my career. So that's 15 I've certified with, 15 I've worked with. None of them are alive today. And, you know, the Project K-9 Hero keeps their memory alive. Part of getting the medical care, and we do prescription food, we do the rehabilitation, the rehoming, the adopting, but we do end-of-duty services. And part of that we do a portrait. And that portrait is after the K-9 passes. We have one of the best portrait artists in the world. Her name's Nikki Furman. She's out in the UK. And we do a custom portrait that each handler gets. And that helps honor them and remember them. And every year we do a calendar. Our 2024 calendar is available now on our website. Those are some of the portraits from last year. And it's a beautiful calendar. But, you know, I think the best thing I can do rather than mourn, you know, them in sorrow is to honor them. And tell their story. Yeah. And tell their story of sacrifice and make people aware, really to change the way these heroes are treated for generations to come.
Yeah. Well, man, I'll be happy to help you anytime you want to keep telling more stories. You know, you just let me know. There's another question. I think it might be the same in the line. What particular humanitarian missions or instances of providing care to retired military working dogs and K-9s, how have they left an impact on you?
Yeah, again, with 265 dogs, I'll touch on one for you.
Yeah.
We'll talk about military working dog Rosso.
Okay.
Tango 206. Served at Fairchild Air Force Base. Served the last two presidents, President Trump and President Obama. Served overseas, Operation Spartan Shield and Operation Inherent Resolve. Served the president in Japan. And when his service was done, he couldn't be adopted because he had aggressive behavior. He had about 14 unwarranted bites in his record. And the handler he had really loved him. His name was Ian, and we've done some videos on this. But Ian had a newborn at home. Now, Ian's still active duty. He's still deploying TDY. You know, in fact, he's overseas today as we're doing this interview. His wife is not equipped, trained to handle a dog like Rosso, but the military doesn't really take that in consideration. So Rosso was looking at being euthanized. Well, the kennel master, you know, they didn't want to see that happen. It was such a decorated hero. They called me, and I actually flew up to Washington State from Tennessee. I rented a car. I had to spend a whole week there at the Air Force Base getting to know Rosso. This guy has bitten everyone he's known. I'm happy to say he's never bitten me. And I took time working with the trainer, working with the kennel master, working with the handler, gaining that rapport, because now I have to drive him across country in a vehicle, stop at hotels, and get to Tennessee, which is a couple days, right? So I established a rapport with Rosso, and the level of respect that we had for each other was amazing. Rosso went on to live almost 3 more years. He passed away on November 11th, 2023. But that was the first dog, when you came out and you saw those kennel buildings, the first one we bought was for Rosso.
Oh, wow, man. That's crazy. I you know, the emotions and, you know, I'm sure that drives you even more. That makes you more like, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
More
We have a
determined.
whole list of dogs waiting to come there, 10 to 12 dogs that some could be euthanized. We're full. I think when you came out, we're full. We've since adopted, we lost Rosso, we adopted one out, and we just took 2 more in. So we keep that at 100%, which is why important we're building that 6,400 square foot rehabilitation and homing center. That's more heroes we can help. That's more heroes we can save their life, you know. And, you know, we got a capital campaign started for it. There's more information on our website, but it's extremely important because without a resource like Project K-9 Hero, these dogs would not have a retirement.
Yeah, your advocacy is insane, man. It's like, wow, you know, when you talk about like when you put something, you know, in somebody's face for the first time, and it just blows your mind, you know, the humanity of it all. How do expressions of gratitude from families of retired canines impact you emotionally, especially when you share the positive changes in the lives of these canine heroes?
Well, it's amazing, you know, and every day I'm blessed to get messages from handlers. Again, so out of the 265 we've had, 130 are alive today. And it's a number I keep in my head every day, and it changes every day. That's 135 handlers, and every day there might be 3 or 4 in the ER, and that handler, you know, may not have the ability to pay for that. And what people need to understand is Project K-9 Hero is just not helping the dog. When we pay a $6,000 medical bill, we're helping that police officer, that deputy sheriff, that state trooper, that Marine, that soldier. And that's what's changing lives. Because think about the mental health of it.
Yeah.
Man, my canine partner is sick and it needs help, and it's $6,000 and I don't have it. And I can't pay it. The stress of, are they going to have to put their dog down? Where are they going to get the money? We come in, we take care of all that. So not are we only helping the dog. Think about the mental relief that first responder, and maybe ultimately that helps stop our suicide rates that we see in our veteran community and our first responder community.
Yeah, that's yeah. I think you're right, man. That's beautiful too, man. To know that so many people are sending you words of encouragement to keep on pushing you forward and just lifting you up, you know.
Yeah, because without them it doesn't work, right? When we get an application, we have over 700 pending applications. We do 52 new dogs a year, so I'm selecting 52 cases a year based on financial burden and special needs that come in the program. But when I call them and talk to them, it's like an interview.
Yeah.
Because is this a person who's going to be an advocate for our organization?
Yeah.
If I just pay your bills for you and you don't tell anybody, until like, hey, this is a great organization, it's helping pay my dog bills, how are we going to raise more money?
Yeah.
So every person we put in is a resource for us and is an advocate in their home state. And we have dogs in every state but 2 right now. So, you know, we have a really wide spread of reach.
Yeah. Are there any educational initiatives with Project K-9 Hero aimed to fostering a deeper understanding of the contributions of canine units among general public?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my goal is to do 1 media event a week, right? So that's 52 a year.
Yeah.
So if I can get in front of a camera, get in front of your audience, let them know what we're doing, that's changing it there. We have a bill in Congress that I wrote 2019 called the K-9 Hero Act. Our congressman that put in, unfortunately, died during COVID, and when that happened, so did our bill. I've rewritten the bill. I've hired a government liaison, a former chief of staff of U.S. Congress and a former chief of staff of the U.S. Senate, and now is on our staff, and he's going to help me put that back into Congress. And we're going to educate lawmakers that, hey, these heroes protected you. They protected your families. They protect your building. We have dogs in our organization from the U.S. Capitol Police. They protect you, and we need to protect them.
Yeah. That's, dude, that's insane. Like, for real. I mean, you talk about, like, so you're saying is heavy, you know, it's like, you know, it's real heavy, you know.
It's, to me, you know, there's a lot of nonprofits. I mean, I was a fairly high-ranking government official, and I still have my whole career in front of me, you know, and I could have had a nice retirement and a nice pension. I gave all that up to do this because I figured, if I don't, who is?
Yeah. As you reflect on your own journey, right, what feelings come to the surface, and how has your connection with K-9 partners and the communities you've served shaped your perspective on life?
Well, life is finite, as we all know. As a former military police officer, as a SWAT officer, as a K-9 handler, as someone who served in Iraq and Afghanistan and lost brothers and sisters, we only get one life. And this has certainly changed my life for better. I could not imagine doing anything else but what I'm doing right now. You know, when I first quit my job, people call me crazy. Like, there's no way I had one of the best jobs in the government for K-9. You know, I've had two of the best jobs in the government for K-9. And when I was overseas, I had the best job serving the U.S. ambassador for K-9. And I left all that behind to follow my passion, to follow my dreams. And you look where I took $500 out of my own pocket in 2016 to start this thing up. I stayed in the government throughout 17. We slowly started making more money. Last year, 2022, we did 4.4 million. Year before that, we did 3.8 million. We're going to be around that number once the totals come in for 2023. But since I founded it in 2016, and actually this month right here, in January 2024, we're approaching $20 million raised. And when I started this organization and took that $500 out of my pocket and made the logo and got the website, you know, never in my wildest dreams had I ever think we'd make $20 million. Now I'm trying to build almost a $10 million facility. Now we're trying to pass laws in Congress. All the things which I know we're going to do. I mean, you talked about my career, 30 years. Yeah. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no plan B. There's no maybe. No, this will happen. And we'll just keep fighting for them. And, you know, as I said before, it's my job and my vision to see that the way we treat K-9s, think about back in Vietnam where we euthanized them over there. Okay, we stopped doing that. Okay, but now they're serving our country and they're getting hurt and they're getting injured, just like a soldier. Just like a special operations, airborne, or anything, knees, joints, everything is different than a pet. And you know, I think it's an injustice and unfair that the government and the military uses them, but doesn't help with their retirements.
Yeah.
I will be an advocate for that. I'm prepared to brief the United States President on it today if I need to.
Wow, man. Well, let's hope we can get you there to do that, man, for sure. Your facility, what does that look like as far as your plan? I know when do you feel like it's going to be completed and all that?
Yeah. Well, we've made some great strides this past year. So we got the 177 acres, which you saw. So the property's there. We started doing some of the groundwork and getting things ready. 6 buildings. One, we have corporate headquarters. We have about 17 employees. We need that building to make our mission and our operations, you know, with continuity, be consistent. We have that rehoming building that we talked about, the 6,400 square feet there. That's going to house more dogs. That's going to have an indoor play area. That's going to have a vet check area. That's going to have a rehab center, a water treadmill, laser therapy, all those things that we can do, grooming, bathing, everything you need there. We have the adoption cabins. People come to adopt a dog or drop a dog off. They can stay on site, work with our staff one-on-one. They don't have to go stay at a hotel 30 minutes away because we're pretty remote out there.
Yeah.
We have the maintenance facility and the caretaker's cabin because you have to have 24-hour, you know, kind of surveillance out there. You just can't leave all these dogs out there. Some of them are our most precious assets that served in the military and police, and it breaks my heart to see something happen to one of them. So we have people out there 24/7 living on site with them and making sure everything's okay. And so all those are in place. But one thing I did this past year is start a capital campaign advisory board. And we got some members from all different genres of professions, like trucking industry, banking industry, pet industry. And this volunteer advisory board is to help us raise that money. And they've got a plan in place. And before, it was just, me out there advocating for it. Well, I'm like, hey, if we're going to raise that kind of money, that's a real heavy lift for me.
Yeah.
I need to find people who believe in what we do, who have these resources and connections, and let them help me gather it. And that's what they're doing. And they're doing a great job. They just got formed here in the last quarter of 2023. We're starting to have meetings. We're starting to get a plan in place. We need about $3.8 million to get that first building up and get like the land done and get the infrastructure in with the electricity and the water and all those things. So $3.8 million kind of takes care of getting the infrastructure in and getting the first building up. And while that one's being built, we're going to raise money for the next one until all 6 buildings are built, and then a fund to help take care of it. So, everything's on our website on projectk9hero.org. We have a capital campaign. We got a fund in there for it specifically for that, because while our operations account does great, when people donate, normally they want to see it pay a dog bill.
Yeah.
They don't care about the water line that needs to come in from the road
Yeah.
or anything. Okay. So the capital campaign advisory board is specifically so people, if they want to put a name on a building, say you're a large company owner and I want a naming right. We can do that. That's available. If you're a large company out there and want to put your name and be called, your company Rehabilitation Rehoming Center, that's great. But they know that's what they're paying for.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose of it.
Wow. What else? I know you got an event coming in January in Tennessee,
Yeah.
Nashville, Tennessee. Talk a little bit about that,
Yeah.
how people can get involved or get some tickets or whatever. However.
Yeah, it's Performance for Paws. It's our 3rd annual, and it's every year at Nashville Palace. This year it's January 25th, 2024. Doors open at 5 o'clock. We have tickets and a few corporate sponsorship tables available on our website at projectk9hero.org. You'll see it right on there on the event. You can click on it, get a table. We've got a great sponsor this year for a title of Sonic Automotive. They did a good job. We've got a whole list of other corporate partners and sponsors. Got some great artists. We started releasing some of their names. In the past, we've had some very big country artists like Lee Brice, Daryl Worley play there. And it's just a great way to spread awareness, get our partners involved on the corporate level. We have silent auction, live auction, and special guest appearances with some of our most famous dogs in the program, like K-9 Mattis, who's got over 5 million followers on TikTok, or some of our other heroes that people can come and meet, take their photo with, and all that stuff. So it's a great event. If anyone, and it's just not for people in Nashville. People travel all the United States. I know there's a few tickets left, so check it out at projectk9hero.org, Performance for Paws, and man, I'd love to see some of you guys there.
Yeah, man. I think it's cool. I think it's amazing what you're doing. It's amazing to know you, man. It's an honor. It's a pleasure to know you and be aware of what you're working on, and now we can work together on putting you with other people that I already have somebody in mind. I was like, my friend Tim Clund. He has a celebrity softball thing, for veterans. So he's a big veteran advocate, and he would be a great connection for you to make. He had Matthew McConaughey, Roger Clemens come play softball.
That's the kind of stuff we need. I mean,
Yeah.
that helps spread awareness, and that helps tell people. I mean, every day I have to educate people on the responsibilities of caring for a retired hero. They just don't think about it.
Yeah.
Even if I go talk to some congressional members or elected officials, they don't know either.
Yeah.
They don't know that. They just think, don't they get to stay with their handler, or we don't leave them behind anymore? But who's paying the bill when they're not in service anymore?
Yeah.
That's the real thing. Or the ones that don't have a home to go to.
Yeah.
That's what Project K-9 Hero does, and I couldn't be more proud of our mission. Like I said earlier, I couldn't see my life any other way. I couldn't imagine doing anything else than what I'm doing right now.
Jason, man, thank you very much for coming to Austin, Texas,
Yes,
to meet up with me and to sit down and we met in the center of Texas and state capital of Texas, capital of whatever Texas, and it's such a cool. Good to know that we've connected in this and share space in this in military environment, and it's really great to know you, man. And I look forward to helping you in any way we can to get the word out for sure.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for everyone who's watching. I hope they share this message. And like I always say, these canine heroes spent their entire life protecting us. So I want to spend the rest of mine protecting them.
Awesome. Guys, that's it for the Unfinished Business Podcast, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. And boy, is Jason Johnson on a life mission to save every K-9 and every military working dog out there. So it's really inspiring. Guys, as I always say at Peace and Light, you remember that the ocean refuses no river.